Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Mass. Matthew on Sneak and Show versus Tristan on Blue White Delver. Both of these players frequently attending the Wednesday Night Legacy series that we have here. Very well attended weekly event. Basic islands from both sides here, revealing very little, both unhinged. Ponder here from Matthew. Sneak and Show going to need to play through these tempo counters. Cards like Daze and Spell Pierce. The longer the game goes, the worse those counters are, which is why Blue-White Delver is going to look to close things out before their counters expire, so to speak. And just a Tundra, passing the turn back. At this point, really any point in the first few turns of the game, Matthew would have to play against as many as 3 counter spells, something like a Daze, a Spell Pierce, and a Force. That can be quite a bit. And leading out with a Show and Tell. That does see a Spell Pierce back. Is there a Daze to follow up? No, there is not. So Stoneforge versus Gristlebrand. Triggering on that side. That's going to grab a Batterskull. That lifelinker probably not going to be good enough here. Matthew going pedal to the metal. Likely to be able to keep this Gristlebrand around without too much difficulty. Ponder here for Tristan, trying to draw some cards of his own. Not as impressive as picking up 7 cards at a time with Gristlebrand. Card like Caracas, probably one of the best things that he could draw. Likely not in the list, though. Swords to Plowshares at Gristlebrand. Matthew going to go ahead and draw 7 more so we can force this. Of course, he'll only be able to force once now that he's down to 2 life. Actually going to let it resolve. Looks like his hand has enough of a combo to finish from here. Perhaps going to Show and Tell in a sneak attack, perhaps? Let's see here. Lotus Petal. Starting out with a Ponder. He is very far ahead. There's the Show and Tell. Probably just a Batterskull incoming here. Brainstorm for Tristan. Finds Force of Will. Will that be enough? I do not believe so. He's going to give it the old college try. Force pitching Spell Snare. Force back. Pitching Brainstorm for Matthew. And it looks like a True Name Nemesis or a Batterskull. True Name versus Omniscience. Hardcast Emrakul. Hardcast Gristlebrand. And that is a wrap. Omniscience, such a powerful addition to the Sneak and Show decks. The ability to hardcast Gristlebrand is absolutely huge, along with Emrakul, of course, getting the extra turn trigger. Just so powerful. Really fundamentally changed the matchup versus the white decks. Things like Death and Taxes, Blue-White Stoneforge, Miracles. Omniscience, just an incredibly powerful effect. Makes it so cards like Caracas not really that useful. In the past, Caracas was one of the literal best cards versus the deck. Now it's barely an inconvenience. There are some very, very poor hands that have to Show and Tell in, and Emrakul, for example, and then Caracas can completely dismantle that line. But that's really not that common, which might be counterintuitive for people who've never played Sneak and Show. It may seem like Show and Tell Emrakul is like a really good plan, but it's actually one of your last case scenarios. Usually you want to be winning with hasty creatures off of sneak attack, or you want to be actually getting out Omniscience and getting an extra turn. There's a lot that can go wrong when you just Show and Tell, get an Emrakul, and pass the turn. As we saw, even Show and Tell for Gristlebrand, probably better than Show and Tell Emrakul in most scenarios. Those extra cards really matter as long as the life loss isn't going to be lethal. Having 7 to 14 extra cards in hand when you're playing a combo deck, pretty tough to lose there as long as you are able to defend your life total to some degree. Tristan sees a little splash of red on a blue card there. I believe that's Force of Will. May feel like a solid thing to be able to protect himself. I don't know if he's got another blue card, but I do see Containment Priest. And that card can do a lot of damage. There's been a lot of printings that have been disruptive for combo decks, particularly for white shells. They recently just printed one in War of the Spark, I believe it was, for double white, which really ruins Lands Day. Like a 2/3 that shuts off the whole Legacy Lands deck. But not likely in Tristan's sideboard. Wouldn't be coming in here. But we do have bears like Containment Priest to consider. It's bad Thalia is not really a consideration here. Too many cantrips. It's actually just really terrible for both decks. Sneak and Show does sometimes struggle with cards like Thalia, which is why you've got the Grim Lavamancer there. And it could be very good versus Tristan as long as Matthew doesn't make the mistake of turning it sideways in combat. That would be an absolute blowout to be ambushed by the flash of Containment Priest. And Swords to Plowshares being thrown out here. Very interesting. Not loving that. Would have been good to give Matthew a chance at making a mistake and swinging with the Grim Lavamancer. Perhaps giving Matthew full credit for not even considering that line. I don't know. Matthew is land screwed. He may just kind of follow that itch and decide to start turning sideways. But he is not land screwed. He's just hard casting a sneak attack. That City of Traders just doubled his mana base out of nowhere. And this is looking very grim. And yeah, perhaps, was there no blue card to go along with this? He's just going to try and resolve the Containment Priest in response to the sneak attack trigger, which can be very bad if Matthew has another red source. He's going to be able to respond to the casting of Containment Priest with another activation. This is seriously playing with fire here for Tristan. He's not going to be able to cast this Containment Priest until Matthew commits to an activation. Otherwise, he's going to be able to respond to Containment Priest by putting in a creature. Activating Containment Priest. Force back. And Matthew now going to decline to put in a creature. Ponder for Tristan. Council's Judgment. And it looked like a true name as well. So this could be very, very good for him. Narset. Narset is sticking. And she is going to find that Council's Judgment, which was left on top. Brainstorm with Narset in play. And that is probably the game. Matthew trying to work around the Narset, trying to find an answer for it. And that card is brand new to the format there, so Gotta get those mistakes out of the way. Brainstorm with her in play is a draw 1, put 2 back. That is a lethal error. Actually, at that point, isn't it a draw 0? My phone's blowing up, selling Pokemon on eBay. Moving through a bunch of Pokemon product. Mostly a Magic the Gathering shop here. I did get in a bunch of Detective Pikachu products. That is actually going pretty well on eBay for now. Yeah, Narset's can't draw more than 1 card each turn, and that was actually on Matthew's turn, so he had already drawn a card. So that's just straight up put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library. Blowout City. You can show a very powerful deck. Not played nearly as much as I would expect. I think part of the reason is sometimes it feels like you are playing with a deck full of Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and Magic cards. They have no synergy. They don't even look like they belong to the same game. And you just don't do anything. And, you know, those feel pretty bad, to be fair. So I think that may be the type of thing that keeps people from playing Sneak and Show in perhaps as high a quantity as they would otherwise, is the bad hands are really bad. But we'll see how these new additions from War of the Spark and Modern Horizons change things over the next couple of months. There are some cards like the Fiery Islet, I think that's what it's called. The blue Sackland that lets you draw a card. Those type of things could be interesting. Try and give the deck a little bit more consistency. Defense Grid coming down here. And is that a must counter? Tristan thinks so. Force Pitching Snap. It is a decision once you have a bit of a mana base. You can potentially afford to throw a single force at their must counter spell if you can pay the 3. But Tristan not interested in that type of gamble. He's just going to go ahead and Stoneforge for a Batterskull. And now Matthew's asking, would you like to get a Batterskull a turn earlier? Tristan declining. Says, I'll take my time. No need to rush. Counters that show and tell with a second Force of Will. And Palace Jailer at the front of his hand is going to be a solid end step as far as stabilizing goes if he can get through the turn. Brainstorm. I think we saw an Emrakul and a Sneak and Show. In a Sneak Attack. Sorry, a Show and Tell. Just a red mana to go along with it, though. Really is plan D, but sometimes you just have to go in that direction. 5 damage coming in. Some life being gained. And Show and Tell, and I think this is going to end badly. Palace Jailer. Oh no, he had the Omniscience. Sick. So sick. I did not see the Omniscience in his hand. That card is such a beating versus the white decks. Oh, brutal. So Tristan thought he was going to get him. Going to get that Emrakul, and instead he saw an Omniscience, which lets Matthew hardcast Emrakul, go to his next turn, swing Annihilator 6. That's going to get rid of most of his mana base. He's left with just 2 Tundras. Here's a hardcast Sneak Attack and another Emrakul for another turn. And that is going to do it. So those Grim Lavamancers, man, that game was pretty wild. I thought that Palace Jailer was going to get him for sure. And instead, Omniscience showing just how strong it really is at finding its way through the hate. So Matthew taking that one down in 2.